We acknowledge that Tri-Cities Community Television operates on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coquitlam First Nation. We thank the Coquitlam who continue to live on these lands and care for them along with the waters and all that is above and below.
It's Cathy with Tri-Cities Community Television. We'd like to thank the library here at Poirier for donating their space to us today, and we continue our election series with the election coming up on October 17th. In the studio with me today is Matthew Sebastiani, and he is running for the city of Coquitlam as a city councillor. Welcome to the studio, Matthew.
Good to see you, Cathy, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well.
Good.
How are you?
Good. I'm great. Let's get right to it. Sure. Why are you running for the city of Coquitlam as a city councillor in this election, Matthew?
Thank you, Cathy. So I'm really passionate about Coquitlam. I've lived in this community all of my life. I've gone to the local schools here. I've done sports in the rec centers, enjoyed our community, the trails, the parks. I've been an active volunteer in our community for a number of different causes. So I'm passionate about community service. And I feel like putting up my hand to serve on council is a great way to give back to our community. I also bring unique experience, policy and finance, and I think that will be beneficial to bring to the council table. So I'm running on a message of affordability, a thriving community, building a future-ready Coquitlam, and I invite the residents to join me in building Coquitlam's future together.
That's fantastic. What is one issue you believe matters most to Coquitlam residents? Matthew, what are you hearing on the doorsteps?
Yeah, so I'm hearing affordability. And there's only so much a city can do. And so, there's nothing really you can do about like gas prices, but residents are feeling it when it's, in their budgets, and affordability seems to be the big issue. Where can the city help with that? So as part of practical solutions to affordability that I'm proposing, housing is a big thing. So having a balanced mix of housing so that at every stage and every phase of life, people can have the appropriate housing, working on affordable housing for seniors. I think the city has done a good job at partnering with other levels of government, nonprofit organizations to build some of that housing, and we need to continue to do that. Also, property taxes. So we need to control spending where we can. It's important to make the investments where we need it, but also to, and the essential services, but also check and see if, what we really need to spend on and what can potentially wait, especially during these harder economic times, because everyone is feeling it. We don't want to pass on that burden to taxpayers.
Exactly. So what do you think the top 3 priorities are in Coquitlam for yourself?
Yes. So I've talked about one of them, which is affordability. Mm-hmm. On my website, I actually have 5 campaign pillars. So it's affordability, responsible financial stewardship, which comes into, responsibly spending, making sure that taxpayers are getting value for their dollars. Right. I'm also on a platform of safe, inclusive, and accessible communities. So things like keeping our community safe, investing in our firefighters and police, giving them the resources they need, addressing mental health, partnering with the province to come up with long solutions on that. When I talk about accessible communities, it's also about our parks, our trails, reducing congestion, making sure that we have good access in our communities. The 4th one is enhancing community life. As a volunteer in the community, I know what it's like to enhance community life through arts, sports, culture. So I want to make sure we're making those investments for just creating that community life we all appreciate. Our green spaces, the trails, expanding community programs for, again, every phase, every stage of life, whether you're young or senior, making sure we have good programs. And the last thing that I'm running on is a future-ready Coquitlam, modernizing our services so that there are faster permitting processes, more transparency. It's also about revitalizing city center, creating a good and diversified local economy. We want people to stay in Coquitlam too. Having that entertainment district is important so that you're not going to other cities. We're keeping business here. Right. And the other thing about Future Ready City, Cathy, is managing growth, making sure we have the infrastructure available as our community continues to grow. So it's quite a bit, but
Yeah,
it kind of rolls up into my theme of building the
It
future.
rolls it all into one into another. Absolutely, we talked about housing. Of course, it's a major concern in all of the Tri-Cities and the province itself, and even throughout Canada. How do we build? How do we balance growth and affordability, and protect the character of Coquitlam?
Yes. So Cathy, I grew up in Burquitlam. That neighborhood is very different than it was. So I've seen the growth firsthand. And I think having responsible growth and a balanced approach, so balanced housing, we need the buildings, we need the low rises, we need townhomes and those single family homes to keep some character in Coquitlam too. So I think it's a balanced approach, Cathy. When we have SkyTrain stations, I think it is responsible to densify around the SkyTrain stations, but also build out so that there's also like different types of housing for whether it's someone's individual circumstance. If you're a family, that there's enough rooms, so 3+ bedroom apartments or townhomes, and also stuff for first-time buyers to actually enter into the market while having those affordable rentals. So again, keeping the character of Coquitlam is important, and I think there's a way to responsibly do that. The other thing that you alluded to was about managing the growth. So we need the right infrastructure. Of course, when we build out, there becomes strain on some of the services.
Right.
So part of my plan is also to ensure that every neighborhood is benefiting from the capital plan when it comes to rec centers, when it comes to libraries. And also, Cathy, I have experience in advocacy. I advocate government in the past for different things. So we need to make sure we have the hospitals or medical infrastructure and urgent care. That's something that I want to advocate for because Coquitlam doesn't have one. Childcare. And that's things that we can work with the province on. So making sure schools is another one. Like when we build up communities, we need to plan ahead and make sure we're managing the growth.
Right, exactly. Managing the growth. What are your plans around community safety, mental health, and different supports like that, and even emergency preparedness?
Yes, so it's a great question. When it comes to safety, again, I want to make sure that our first responders, our firefighters and police who are doing great work in our community have the resources, modern equipment to keep our community safe. So that's number one. When it comes to mental health, this is a more delicate subject and something that is important. I am hearing it on the doorstep. Of course, really highlighted with 3030 Gordon in Coquitlam. We need to partner with the province to find long-term solutions for that issue. The other thing is the Mobile Integrated Response Team, or also known as CAR 99. Right now, it's a 12-hour cycle. I think it's either 8 to 8 or 10 to 10. So basically, they partner a mental health nurse with a police officer, and they respond to any crises that may be happening. But we know that mental health is not half the day. It's a 24-hour. Yeah, so I want to work with Fraser Health and organizations and the city to make sure that we're providing the capacity for 24-hour coverage. And that might be more of a long-term plan, but it's something that we should be looking into. And I think you said emergency preparedness. Yes. We have seen some emergencies in our community, the flooding. Some of it has turned into tragedy. And so we need to be planning for climate resiliency as well in our community, and making sure the city has the resources to respond to those issues and plan ahead. I mean, we also live in an earthquake zone. Something may happen in the future. So we need to be ready as a city and also make sure residents are getting the information they need to also be prepared for anything that might cause an emergency or future risks to our community.
Do you feel safe in Coquitlam?
I feel very safe. Good. Like I said, I think we manage things really well. But again, our first responders and even search and rescue, so some of whom are volunteers, they do great work in our community. We don't want a lot of the services to have to be used in emergency cases, but we're so fortunate that it's there when and if needed.
What about traffic and transit and parking concerns that people might have? What solutions would you champion?
Yes, so according to a recent Ipsos Reid survey, I believe that congestion is one of the top concerns amongst residents. We are a growing community, and so we need to think about how our roadways are efficiently moving traffic. You don't want to sit in traffic for a long time. It's not an efficient use of time. Right. So there are some intersections that are well managed. So for example, along Pine Tree, we've seen some good management of traffic. Things can always be better. So I want to make sure we're looking at best practices to ensure we have that flow of traffic. At the same time, we can look at transit. So bus service is a big thing that continue to move people. The micromobility, we see the scooters. I know sometimes it could be like an inconvenience to see where people put them or whatnot, but I think we look at those options to help people move around the city, especially in the core. One other thing, Cathy, I would say is when we develop, we need to make sure that we're planning these roadways properly. I'll give a specific example growing up in Burquitlam. So off of when you're coming down Como Lake towards Burquitlam, I believe it's like near Dogwood, Robinson area there. They built these low rises and they built these pullouts, but there's not enough space. So actually now there's no stopping zone. And if someone does pull there, there's not enough room for traffic to keep the 2 lanes flowing. And that's a risk for traffic because people still do it. Right. Whether you're ordering an Uber or skip the dishes or Amazon delivery trucks, Canada Post, they are still pulling up there even though they're not supposed to, but they should be able to. So we should be planning that. It should have been large enough for those pullouts so it's not holding up traffic. So I think, again, when we build the first time, we got to get it right. And we got to make sure that we're planning ahead so that those types of things, it's just a reality. We know people are going to get deliveries. People are going to move in. Like, where are they supposed to pull into if the space isn't large enough?
Right, exactly. Matthew, let's talk about your leadership style. How are you as a leader, and what would you bring to council?
Yes. Well, Cathy, I have a lot of experience being able to lead in our community and different organizations.
Share that with us, yeah.
Sure. So whether it's with Place des Arts, I've been on the board there, Coquitlam Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, Crohn's and Colitis Canada, I would say I'm a collaborative leader. So I enjoy working. I can work with anyone, and I think that's important in order to achieve goals is to collaborate and work with others to achieve whatever the organization would like to achieve. And in this case, whoever is elected to council, I'm willing to work with to accomplish good things for the residents of our community. The second thing I would say is I'm very diplomatic in my approach, very respectful. I have a lot of empathy for people. And I also listen. In all of my roles, listening is so important because as a city councilor, I will bring that to the job, to listen to residents, to hear their concerns, and then bring them to the table. And the last thing I would say about my leadership style, Cathy, is I'm a doer. I like to get things done and bring things to the finish line. Sometimes you go into organizations and they will say things like, it's just the way we do it. That's something usually that I'll challenge sometimes the status quo and say, I know that's the way we've done it, but can it be more efficient? Can we do it in a better way? And can we increase our service delivery levels? I think that's always important to think outside the box and get things to the finish line.
Right. Residents sometimes feel disconnected from municipal politics. How would you improve transparency and public engagement?
Yes, this is an interesting topic, I think, when it comes to how do we allow more information to flow to residents. So one thing that I see the city of Coquitlam doing, especially when it comes to financial information, is that they do have a website where you can go in and see, what's being spent on what. But I think we can make it more user-friendly. There's so much technology available now. You can create dashboards. You can allow people to see where money is being spent, how it's being spent. At the end of the day, when residents get their property taxes, and we get that in the mail, and you see kind of the breakdown was a percent, can we go even further? What does that actually look like in practice? What are residents paying for? What is the value of that tax dollar that's being delivered? So that's important. The second thing is, I believe over the last couple of years, the city has done a better job using social media. Everyone is online these days. It's a good way to communicate with residents, and we need to see how much more we can do from a social media perspective or even in community groups for the city to be able to post information to residents so that we can just have more information flow to residents.
Mm-hmm, exactly. What is one thing that you absolutely love about Coquitlam?
I would say, Cathy, as someone who's lived here all my life, it's the sense of community. This is home. Everything that we have talked about so far, whether it's, enjoying our parks and trails that we all enjoy, the big festivals and events that create that sense of community. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, Cathy, I would say in particular, as a passionate volunteer, volunteers really make the community. I've enjoyed working with all the organizations. Through the Coquitlam Foundation, I've also got to meet a lot of people through other organizations that we support through the foundation. Volunteers in our community are doing great work. And it could be that one person who is coordinating through social media to get a group to go out. You know, recently there was like a park cleanup that I went to, and it's like great to see residents just doing these initiatives. Right. Or it could be formally nonprofit organizations, volunteers, or like that they're doing great work in our community, and there's a lot of them. So they are at the true heart of our community. So the residents that are making a difference, that are really engaged in volunteering, I'm so thankful for them, and they help to create that sense of community.
I want to get to these last two just really quickly. Tell voters something they may not know about you.
Sure. So Cathy, I know you know this about me, and I'm very open about it, but I would like to, because, you know, I look very healthy and very well, but something that has shaped my journey has been my diagnosis with ulcerative colitis when I was 18 years old. That's really shaped my outlook because I was diagnosed with a chronic condition that has no cure. I was challenged through university to get through that. And that's really shaped my commitment to giving back because so many people helped me along the way. I've decided that I will try and serve community and do good work whenever I can. Right. So that's something that's really shaped me, and I just love to share that with residents because that's a driving force behind some of the work that I do and just my personality.
So why should residents vote for you, Matthew? Yes.
So Cathy, thank you for the conversation today and thank you for the interview. So I'm asking residents on October 17th to vote for me. I'm a lifelong resident of this community. I've been here as a community champion, volunteering for a number of causes. So I'm ready to put my hand up and serve our community at the council table. My experience allows me to bring policy expertise along with fiscally responsible leadership to the table. I'm a collaborative leader. I listen to people. I will work with whoever gets elected. On day one, I have the experience. I'm prepared to bring my commitment and service-driven leadership to City Hall. I invite residents to check out my website, MatthewSebastiani.ca. I'm looking forward over the next few months to meet as many residents as possible so I can hear their thoughts, what they would like to see from the next council, and also sharing my vision at the same time. So I would love to say to the residents, I'm asking for their support, and I'm inviting them to join me in building Coquitlam's future together.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so very much. It's Cathy Cena here. You're watching the election series with Matthew Sebastiani. He is a collaborator, a diplomatic individual, and someone who's a doer. So on October 17th, make sure your vote counts. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Cathy Cena.